How in the world are you still awake? It's crazy.
Brother, working hard.
Yeah?
Working hard from Mexico City, because in some parts are earlier. So that's why I didn't want to leave all my friends behind, because they were asking for going deeper, and I thought there is no way I'm not going to have going deeper, even if it's 20 minutes.
Look who stayed awake.
Oh my goodness.
They were already in bed.
I'm telling you, brother,
we were doing it.
You're right there. I can see right now a future nun and a future bishop. Hola, Mina. ¿Cómo estás, mi amor? Buenas noches. ¿Cómo va tu español?
Hola, Lucas, saluda.
Hola, Lucas. Muy bien, frater. Pues aquí estamos. Rezamos el rosario hace un rato y estamos promocionando el rosario para el día 13 de mayo, que es el Día de la Virgen de Fátima. A ver si a la 1 de la tarde, hora de México, nos juntamos 50,000 personas. Imagínate un estadio rezando el rosario por el mundo. Va a ser de una gracia increíble si lo logramos, y es posible lograrlo si nuestra familia de YouTube, Facebook, Instagram nos ayudan a promoverlo.
Okay,
Mientras tanto, pues to the point, frater, to the point. What's going on? What are you going to talk about
well,
tonight?
I had a longer talk ready to go, but since it's
let's see how far we can go.
We'll just do about 20 minutes. I got to put these two to bed.
Okay,
so
okay. Let's do 20 minutes.
We'll do 20 minutes. So we were going to talk. There's one thing that hi, everybody. There's one thing that I forgot to mention last time.
Perdón, ni siquiera dimos la bienvenida. A ver, bienvenidos, bienvenidas a Going Deeper. Buenas noches, familia. Perdón, ¿dónde quedaron nuestros modales, frater?
Where are our manners?
Where are our manners, man? Where are our manners?
How's everybody? Let me fix my hat and my hair.
Okay. Bienvenidos, bienvenidas una vez más a Going Deeper. Estamos aquí con Leo Severino. Saluda, Leo, amigos de YouTube.
Hola, Facebook. Hello, everybody. What's wrong, Lucas? Why are you laughing so?
Lucas, Mina, saluden a nuestros amigos de YouTube.
Hola,
hola.
Hola a todos de YouTube, dile.
Ahí está.
All right, hello, everybody. Hey, let's get to work, because it's late for everybody. I have no idea how a couple hundred people are still awake. And in Mexico City and all over, everywhere. But what we talked about last time, we talked about fear and anger. And tonight I'm just going to do a little bit of a bridge between the lower appetites, the emotions, and the higher appetites, the higher faculties, the intellect and the will, namely.
Okay.
But there's something I forgot to mention last time, and that is this. People have this notion that if you're angry about something, that the best thing to do is to vent out that anger, right? And so there's actually places you can go now that are kind of like gyms, where you can go and just start screaming what you hate or what you're angry about, just start punching a bag, yelling into a pillow. Or have you heard of these things, Eduardo? Have you seen these things?
No.
They're pretty popular. But the idea is that you have this anger and that it needs a release, and so you should just let it out. Now, I don't know too much about the, modern psychological notions of this, but traditionally, and from a moral theological perspective, that is precisely the opposite of what we should be doing, right? Because remember, the emotion, what anger wants to do is have that motion for that vindication. And so, people might think, it's good for me. I just need to vent this out just to get it out, right? And in a certain sense,
but I have a question. It's going out is what is wrong, or ¿qué tal si lo canalizas eso hacia algo positivo?
Yeah. So what I'm saying is this: is just the venting. Just I'm going to call Eduardo, tell him everything that's wrong, why I'm upset in this world. Just that alone isn't enough. What that does is it feeds the emotion.
Okay.
Because it focuses on the negative aspect of it and gives it the motion that it craves on its own without reason, seeing the bigger picture. So recall, what happens is our emotions put a perspective on an image. So we tend to see a thing either greater than it is or less than it is. Generally, with anger, we're seeing the negative aspects. We're seeing things less than they are. So we're not seeing the full human. We're just seeing the fact that they upset us, or the thing that upset us, the thing about them that upsets us. Mm-hmm. And that's our focus. And so when we vent based on that, I hate this, or I hate that, or oh, this is terrible, or even just speaking on the phone, just gossiping and just saying, or detracting, saying, this person really upset me because they did this and this and that. What we're doing is we're actually getting a pleasure from the vindication. In other words, we're getting a delight in expressing, moving towards an object as if we're actually vindicating against the object. That's not the way to grow in the virtue of meekness. That's not the way to grow in the mean. The way to grow in the mean is, as opposed to just detraction or gossip or what they call venting or screaming out your anger or punching a pillow or hitting a wall, mm-hmm. as opposed to doing that, I'm not saying we repress those emotions. What we do is we deal with the emotions and put them in their proper perspective by how? Reformulating the image, seeing the bigger picture. So just venting and yelling and screaming is just telling that appetite, you know what? Go ahead and keep focusing on the negative, and I'm going to give you the motion that you want, and I'm going to make you feel good. That's why there's a certain release when we talk about somebody in a negative way or when we just lash out.
And it can escalate too, right, Frater? If we don't stop and right. order, it can go to the wrong side, but it can escalate to even worse things.
Exactly right. So just the venting of its own, if it doesn't go past the negative to the positive, all that does is feed the emotion, and now the emotion is placated, but the next time it comes around, it's going to have a strong association, so it's going to want to go even further to the thing. This is why resentment has a tendency to grow, and over time, they say time heals all wounds. No, it doesn't. The wounds of anger, the wounds of indignation actually stay with us and can even grow with time. Sometimes time dissipates. I'm not as angry as I was. Other times, it's just like over time, it just gets harder and harder and harder, and it can become this resentment, this grudge. And so, just a note of caution: we should be very careful with just venting, with just talking about our frustrations and just letting out the negative. We should always, if we're going to do that, end it in the positive. In other words, go past what the negative is. Don't just give the emotion the means to move on its own, but actually go all the way through the positive so that we can see the full side of the equation, the spectrum, and land in the mean. And mm-hmm. that's how we actually get to things like forgiveness and mm-hmm. the virtue of meekness. That's how we can control our anger, etc. All right, so that was what I forgot to mention last time. This time, I'm just going to bridge the lower faculties to the higher faculties. We're supposed to be talking about prudence tonight, mm-hmm. which is the faculty in the intellect that moderates the darkness that we have in our intellect because of our fallen nature. But instead of that, what I'm going to talk about is authority. Authority is a thing that we cannot escape. We cannot avoid. We either have it or we're under it at all times. And why is it important? Because what I'm going to talk about tonight in 10 minutes basically is a preamble for what we're going to talk about with prudence, and that's this. When the emotions are in control, we are not taking authority over our lives. When our lower faculties are in control, when our senses are ahead of our intellect, or our imagination runs on its own without us consciously making decisions about what's proper or improper, making proper judgments. When our cogitative power just runs on association, when we live at the lower faculties, just based on our animal instincts, which are all good, but they're disordered, when we do that, we are not taking authority of our lives. And essentially, the life of virtue is actually one of authority. And I'm going to explain this. This is going to be one of these fundamental things that we're going to build upon. So authority is this. Authority is defined way back to the Greeks and through the entire Western philosophical tradition as the power to determine the means to the end. So if I need to get to San Francisco from Los Angeles, right? And there's 5 of us. whoever has the authority is the person who ultimately can decide we're going to take a bus or we're going to take a car, we're going to walk, we're going to swim, we're going to take a plane, we're going to use whatever means to get there. So if the end for me is to get these kids to bed, and I'm their parent, and they know they need to get to bed, I'm the one that has the authority to determine how and when, all the circumstances around them getting to bed. Right? So authority is the power to determine the means to the end, which is essentially the means to the good that is trying to be achieved. Now, because of that, authority has two sides. It entails rights
or abuse
and duties. Yes, that's right. So the right is the claim to some good. So the person in authority has the right to determine. That's the very definition of authority. It's that power, that right to determine the means. The person under the authority has the right to the good. So if I have decided as between Eduardo and myself that I'm going to let him decide how to get to San Francisco, he's going to determine the way to get to San Francisco, but I have the right for him to make that determination so that we can get to San Francisco. So this will make more sense as we go, right? A duty is just the flip side of the right? It's an obligation to provide that good. So the person who has the authority has the duty to provide the good, the means to the end. The person under the authority has the duty to obey that determination. So here's an example. God created us as parents to have authority over our children, to provide and to protect them. Why? Because the children, because of their nature, they cannot provide the means to the end for themselves because they don't have it. They don't have the mental capacity early on at a very young age, obviously, to determine what is actually the good, what is the end. They're either too weak or they're too ignorant or they haven't developed the proper virtues to protect themselves from the things that are bad and that we know them to be bad, right? It's obvious in a baby. It gets even more obvious by the time they get a toddler and they're running around putting their fingers in the fire and et cetera, et cetera. So in other words, authority is ultimately based on truth, on the nature of a thing, right? So I have authority over my car because of the nature of the car itself. The car, because of its nature, was made to be an exchangeable good. So because of that exchangeability of the good, it becomes my property. And so I have authority to determine where the car is driven, how much gas we put in the car, et cetera, right? The very nature of the property and the rights and properties determine that duty. So here's the point. We are under a duty, all of us. And what is that duty? The duty is based upon the truth of our nature. And if the authority is that which determines the means to the end, well, what determined the means to our end? God did. God created us. And he created us, as we've talked about, with a purpose. And that purpose, to know and to love him, is the means to our ultimate end. So our authority is actually God. And all authority, in fact, comes from God if it's proper authority. In other words, if it's rooted in the truth and the nature of things, like property rights or like a father and a mother over children. The very nature and the design of the thing implies that duty. So what's my point? My point is this. If duty is based on design, if authority is based on duties and rights, and duties and rights are determined by the design of the thing, then accountability for us involves that everything that is under our authority must have some clarity of truth. If we have authority over a certain thing, our household, our children, our whatever sphere of influence we have in our work, our very lives, our faculties, then that must mean we have to know the sufficient truth about these subjects, these things, these circumstances, in order to fulfill our duties and provide the rights. In other words, if some area under our authority lacks sufficient clarity of truth, we cannot properly exercise that authority. In other words, some duty is not being properly fulfilled. In other words, we have to know the nature of our faculties, the nature of our dispositions, the nature of our vices. We have to know the truth of all these things in order to properly exercise our authority that is given to us by the very nature of us having been given these faculties by God that are ordered towards an end. We have the authority to determine the means to the end of ourselves. We are the ones that get to choose. That's what we proved when we talked about free will, that ability to determine in our will. But that can only make sense, and we can only achieve it if we have a truth about its nature. Now, this is true not only of ourselves, this is true of everything under our authority. This is what prudence is. Prudence is that knowledge of the truth so that we can apply it to the end that we're trying to achieve. In other words, what this is all about at some level is us taking authority over ourselves. In fact, it's about taking authority over space and time itself. Why? Because if there's a lack of clarity, there's a lack of an authority. I'll give an example that is going to hit home for Eduardo and I. We said yesterday that we were going to start at 9 o'clock Mexico time, 7 o'clock Pacific time. Because of mistaken communication between the two of us, we didn't have prudence. We didn't have clarity. We didn't take proper authority over the things that were given to us. And so we failed, given that we are the authority in the much that we're determining the means or truth speaking and what is going to be said. Don't think of authority in the subjugation sense. I don't mean that in the objectification sense, like we are the authority. I don't mean that. I just mean we're the ones that were determining
providing
what time we're going to be on.
Providing what we believe is good.
Exactly right. We're providing the means to determine what is good. And in fact, there's a certain authority for Eduardo because he has the power in as much as he is the one that has this platform and he is the one that gets to press the button when these things go live. So he has a certain authority there, right? That's all we mean by authority. It's that ability to determine the means to the end.
Yeah. Like a teacher in school. You know, he has the authority to give and provide what is good with the right means to 100 students. And if he fails by teaching the wrong things, the whole thing collapses, you know?
Exactly right. Or even, so by the way, that's true of us now, of me speaking these words. I have a certain authority. If I'm claiming the right to determine the means to express the good, I am claiming some sort of authority. And it better be rooted in truth and clarity. Otherwise, guess what? I'm not fulfilling the purpose. I'm not taking proper authority. I'm failing a duty ultimately to whom? Not only to everybody who's listening to me, but to God himself. Because he's the one that gives us this. Same for all of us. It's not just the teacher in the school. The janitor, if he's the guy, the custodian, the principal, whoever it is who has the power of the keys to open up and unlock the school, he has a certain authority. And he has to have clarity as to what time he needs to open up the key and open up the door and all that sort of stuff. Now, are we talking about stuff that's insanely grave or by way of grave matter? No, right? Eduardo and I, this isn't set in stone that we're going to start at a very particular time, but it's good analogically for the entirety of our lives. The entirety of our lives, if we're going to fulfill our purpose, has to be rooted in a determination of the means to the end. We're called to take authority over ourselves. And as such, we need to have that sort of clarity. Wherever there's a lack of clarity, there's a lack of us taking authority. We're failing in our duties. And so how do we have that clarity? That's what prudence is all about. Prudence is all about determining the clarity in our minds about principles, about truth, about the application. And it all comes down to, ultimately, here's where we're going to get to. It's taking authority over space and time itself. Here's what I mean by that. If our room is, if we have a cluttered room, it's very difficult for us to think because our minds have a tendency, they're built by their design, to pass through particulars so that we can abstract out concepts. So we were able to see four-legged and hairy or furry and barking, and from those disparate things, we're able to unify them into dog. In the same way, if things are more scattered and more disparate, it's much more difficult for us to have a unifying abstract concept. Same if we're trying to think in a very cluttered room or in a filthy vehicle or in a dirty space that's cluttered, it's going to be tough for our minds to focus clearly, because our cogitative power, our senses, our imagination are taking in a bunch of things, and our cogitative power is used to trying to make associations. So it's going to run those associations. But if the room is clean and still and ordered, then it facilitates our ability to abstract. That's our bodies and our soul. The more order we have, the more prudence we have. The more clarity we have, the more we are taking proper authority. So it starts with regimen. And that's important for us here in quarantine. It might be, I don't have to wake up at a certain time. I don't have to get to work at a certain time. I don't have to come home at a certain time. That's all true. But do we want to habituate ourselves to prudence? If we do, then we should have an order. We should have a schedule. We should have a regimen. Why? So it's not left to our emotions. So it is reason that's making that determination, so that we're actually taking authority over the space by organizing our stuff, and time by having a schedule. I'm going to wake up at this time. I'm going to work out at this time. Now, can you go to the excess? Yes, you can. Virtue is in the mean, right? Virtue is right in the middle, right? So it's not being overly excessive. Oh, I missed it by a second, right? It doesn't mean that. But what it does mean is to have these general categories so that we can try to grow in prudence and not leave things, even starting a session like this, just to our emotions and our passions, right? So that's the foundation for what we're going to be talking about. And Eduardo, do you have any thoughts, comments?
No, that's amazing, because precisely because we are living right now, we're locked down for more than 40 days, and you don't have certain obligations because you're not out there in the world, working as normal, how it was before. Now it's very easy to start getting soft in your schedule, and little by little you start literally losing that authority that you're talking about on space and time, on your own space and your own time, instead of really taking advantage of this amazing time that we all have in our homes. How to have a time where you go to sleep, a time where you can wake up, your routines during the entire day. It's going to be more. It's going to bear more fruits. And when hopefully we come out to the world next week, in 2 weeks, in 1 month, 3 months, 4 months, God knows, we're going to go back to normal. But can you imagine if for 6 months you were completely sleeping for 15 hours, eating whatever is in the fridge, no exercise, and then you come out to the world, you're going to be completely out of shape in everything.
Yes, that's right. And it would be shame on us if we don't come out of this thing better.
Better. It has to be better. It has to be better in every single area of our lives.
That's right.
So that's why I think this is an amazing opportunity to really have the knowledge, so we can start tomorrow, tonight.
That's right.
And it's always going to be an area where you are, worse than another one, always. And only angels are perfect. But at least to recognize those areas, and now we know what to do, so we can fix every single area. And hopefully when we come out, as you said, we're going to come out better and stronger in every single area of our lives. That's the goal.
Yes, and even if we're going to fall short of perfection, we should nonetheless strive for it.
Exactly.
Try for it, right? Because that's what we're made for. All right, some thoughts.
All right, brother. So, hold
on, I'm gonna go through a couple questions, if that's all right, brother. Cool. Glossflakes said this: prudence, order, regiment, schedule, structure our time and space without allowing emotions to take control of our time. That is a fantastic recap of what we
just wrote the entire, going deeper in one page.
Yes, much better than I ever did. Daniel Molina says, how do you recover authority when lost? An alcoholic, for example. That's a very, very good question, right? Alcoholism is an incredible example. In fact, every addictions is some loss in authority, right? Some loss in us being able to determine the means, because we have this thing outside of our control that is governing us. Well, there's prudent steps to take. Some you have to wean off, some you have to go cold turkey. Prudence is what dictates, and it's dictated by the truth of the object. In other words, the very nature, and we talked about this last time, of heroin requires that, no, you got to get off that stuff immediately. Whereas if you're addicted to Instagram, maybe you should start weaning off a little bit, here and there, so that it's prudent and the emotions don't go so sharp that they start fixating on some other object. So it depends on the object. Let's see. Oh, thank you, everybody, for the kind comments. Yeah, someone says it's very challenging at times. Yes, it is, because of our fallen nature, because we're disinclined towards it.
And everything that is worth it in life requires discipline, sacrifice.
Mr. Blitz, he's asking, Leon Eduardo, what are your schedules like at home during this lockdown? How do you remain self-disciplined? Any tips? Fantastic. Well, right now I'm actually on vacation. I just came home from work. I was actually working on we had a whole film crew quarantine at somebody's house, and we're working. I'm actually going back to that next week. But during that, we actually scheduled the entirety of our day, literally from, one of the guys in the office starts brewing coffee all the way through when we're going out to start filming, what we're editing. We schedule. The one tip I can give is to schedule. And as a general rule, especially in this quarantine, just generally speaking, we're going to talk about this when we get to some of the other virtues. Let's not just sit. Even if our work requires us to sit in front of the computer, we got to get out. We got to be in touch with nature and reality, because it helps us. If we're surrounded just by man-made things all the time, there's a mediation between us and God and reality. So it's very good to take moments to go outside, obviously to exercise, clarity of body, being able to use our bodies properly as they function leads to clarity of soul as well, and clarity of mind. Eduardo, any tips?
Well, I think everyone is different. If you're alone, or if you are with your children and wife, or if you are with your parents, and so then it's different. For me right now, it's a little easier just because I'm alone. I'm not alone because I have my family, but not here with me. I talk to them. I have you guys, and I feel like I'm always talking and interacting with a lot of people. But in my space and time, I'm alone. So then it's a little easier to schedule my everyday life. I recommend, and at least this helped me a lot, always to write down every single thing you're going to be doing the next day, the day before. If you can schedule the entire week, but minimum the day after, the day before, you schedule. I'm going to wake up at 6 in the morning. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work out for 20 or 40 minutes so I can sweat. So the first thing, I'm awake right away. By 7 o'clock, I'm already, I wake up, I work out, I did my prayers. I recommend to do before workout. After you work out, then you take a shower, then you prepare your coffee. So by 7:30, you are like ready to go, you're ready to go, you work out, you did your prayers, you took a shower, and now you are enjoying your coffee. That it's actually, I believe that is a great, como se dice, un antioxidante, antioxidant, and I really enjoy a little bit of coffee twice a day. So, but I think it's healthy. Some people think it's not healthy. I believe that it's healthy. Well, at least, I want to say that. After that, then you start opening your computer to check emails or WhatsApps for work. At this moment, we are producing a film called The Sound of Freedom, and the crew, it's all over the place. Leo is in New York. We have some producers in Miami, some others in Los Angeles. I'm here. So we're finishing. We're almost literally 98% to finish the film. And right now we're recording. We're looking for a singer to record a song for the movie, for the end credits. So all that, I try to manage that in the morning. And after that, we'll try to eat healthy as much as you can. As Leo said, it's very important to, thank God I have three or four trees here in the roof. So I like to just sit down and look at the sky, because I have not been out for a month, for 50 days, except for...
You haven't been outside?
No, except for 2 times. I went to an ATM, and because I have to pay something in cash, and literally I went with the mask, with the hat, with the glasses, with the gloves. I mean, I was literally the people who work here at the building, they look at me like, "What's going on?" I said, "No, I'm doing an exercise. I'm just trying to." I feel like it was weird, man. 2 times only in almost 50 days. But
Wow.
thank God I have this roof where I feel like I'm walking in the forest. Small one, but it's surrounded by trees. And
dude, get outside, man. Go for a run. Go for a jog or something. Can't you do that?
I mean, I can, but I just I don't know if it's good or not. You know.
I think you'll be all right.
You know, I was actually talking before going deeper to my friends on YouTube, and I was telling them exactly about there's so much information, so many videos that you are watching that all contradict. You know, don't go outside because the virus is in the air. Don't worry. There's no such a thing as virus in the air. No, yes, no. So you get to a point like you don't know who to believe anymore. You know. So in the meantime, I don't want to risk it. I'm happy here in my house. But I'm doing a lot of work here. I mean, literally, I have very little time to rest. I rest now that I'm gonna go to sleep, but during the day, I like to just being very proactive. You know, in I do the rosary every day. Now we do the Going Deepers. I'm gonna start a new show next week on YouTube called Heroes, and so I'm writing a lot and trying to keep myself busy and trying to be productive from my house. And any other tips, let me know. What else I should do.
Jason Jones just texted me. He's watching. He said, "Go get outside, dude."
He's the opposite. Jason is outside all the time. He just got arrested.
Well, he's in Hawaii.
He just got arrested in Hawaii last week for protest. Yeah, he put that on his Facebook. He was doing some protest. Ask him Jason, why you got arrested in Hawaii? Can you write it down?
You get arrested in Hawaii, Jason. What are you doing out there? Hey, I gotta put these kids to bed.
Yeah.
You guys talk about why.
It was for something good, actually. He was doing something good. It was just,
he always is.
you know.
He always is.
Anyway, so any tips, write it down. So we're a family. Este es un movimiento de amor, de oración, de aprendizaje, y vamos a ayudarnos los unos con los otros. Escriban cualquier otro tip que podamos hacer, Leo y yo. Leo se regresa a Nueva York. ¿Cuándo, Frater? When are you going back to New York?
Monday.
Oh, this Monday.
Yeah, well,
wow.
Yes, essentially.
Okay. All right, yeah. Cool, man. So then, all right, guys, so thank you so much. I love you. Thank you for being here and Going Deeper. Gracias, Leo, como siempre, por tu generosidad y tu tiempo. Es un placer tenerte aquí en este espacio y aprender más y más en temas de filosofía, teología y en temas relacionados con nuestra fe. Dios te bendiga, frater. Lucas y Mina, buenas noches.
Good night, everybody. Next time we're going to talk about prudence, and we'll see everybody next time. It won't be till Tuesday night, okay?
Yeah, Tuesday night.
All right.
God bless you, brother.
So long, everybody.
Thank you. Adiós. Buenas noches. Él fue Leo Severino, teólogo, filósofo, productor de cine, guionista, más importante, mi hermano del alma, mi frater del alma, gran amigo, socio, productor. Y bueno, pues esto fue Going Deeper. El martes será la próxima sesión a las 9 de la noche. Mañana continuamos con el Rosario por el Mundo. Se me olvidó a qué hora dije en Facebook. Creo que era 1:30 de la tarde, creo que dije, o 2 de la tarde, no recuerdo. Entre 1:30 y 2 de la tarde, hora de México. Voy a checar la grabación de Facebook y ahí dije al final la hora, pues esa va a ser la hora. O es la 1:30 o las 2. De cualquier manera lo voy a poner en Instagram, lo voy a poner en YouTube. Y el 13 de mayo, el Día de la Virgen de Fátima, Rosario por el Mundo, a ver si llegamos a 50,000 personas en vivo. Ojalá. Sería increíble. Bueno, familia, ¿quién más anda por ahí? A ver. Antes de dormirnos, a ver si vemos aquí a Jason Jones. Ahí está No, ¿quién está aquí? Raymond. Raymond. No, ya no se conectó. Bueno, era Raymond Castellón, lo queríamos saludar. Creo que ya se desconectaron. Bueno, familia, buenas noches. Dios los bendiga. Paz y bien. Ánimo. ¿Qué tal, familia? Estamos tratando de ver si la próxima semana empezamos ya el programa de héroes. No depende de nosotros, depende del equipo que no me ha llegado. Unas cosas específicas que ya pedimos, pero no nos han llegado. Todo está muy lento. Espero que llegue para que la próxima semana empecemos héroes. Si no, bueno, yo les estaré avisando. Les mando un fuerte abrazo. Dios los bendiga. Paz y bien. Buenas noches.